have no time for any of this. But I want to tell you that I was taking notes on the things that we're doing or not. And I thought there was a lot of good advice, but I also found myself feeling very, very tired of so many problems and so many ways of looking at problems. And I was thinking that that our Jewish religion has sort of, this has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about, but I just couldn't help thinking that we have 3 weeks before Tisha B'Av with 3 Haftorahs. What are they about? What are they about? They're about tragedy. They're about terrible things happening. And then we have 7 Haftorahs of comfort. So I think that when you think about it, we talk about all this tragedy, all these terrible things, but you have to have hope. You have to look into it. And I think my whole life story depends on that hope. And Tisha B'Av, I'm told by many of the rabbis that someday it's going to be a day of comfort. And so we think of how we can help people, but we have to think about it. They talked about selflessness. And my whole life, from the age of 3 and probably before 3, which I don't remember, has been of people helping me. Can you see me? Yes. Yeah, I should be careful not to insult anybody, not to hurt anybody by not showing them. We have to help others. We have to see what we can do and listen to them. And he said, feel and want to be helpful. Listen to people so you know what you're doing. And that's what they were saying. I took all these notes out. And Tisha B'Av, when you think about it, and it deals with the Holocaust, it's almost like copying. It says, why was this wonderful city of ours lying there like a widow? Why was it lonely? Why was it sad? Why were there orphans? Why was there hunger? Why was there thirst? Why was there misery all around? Isn't that exactly what happened? Why did Warsaw all of a sudden become a desolate state? Budapest, my hometown of Pietrków, devoid of Jews, not having anybody around. You could really take the words and just transpose the cities and the times. And we know that the temple was destroyed in 586 BCE by the Romans, the Babylonians, and then some people came back. But how many people came back? I don't have this written down, but I remember my husband saying all the time that only poor people and sad people, people who did very well in Babylonia, didn't mind coming back. Isn't that what's happening in our world now? People who come to Israel either because they really have a lot of pride and feeling of Zionism, or they're not so happy and they're hoping to change their life. And hopefully we will be able to do that. So when I was listening to all this, and I was trying to think I was taking notes in the dark there. Jeremiah pleads with God not to forget us, to remember us. Listen, that's exactly what our prophet is asking of God to do, and these rabbis were telling us we have to do it to other people. And we hear about the death and the orphans and the widows, and I can't tell you that it's a pleasant thing. I lost a husband and I lost a son. So I know what it is. But I'll tell you something else, that I don't think that we are allowed to live with sadness. And that's why we very often you have the first, when somebody dies, the first day of death. I don't have any of this prepared, so if I'm saying the wrong thing, quote me. But the first day is the worst day, right? And then we have a week of Shiva, where you're not allowed to wash and you're not allowed to do this and that and the other thing. We know all about this. And then it's a little bit less. We have the month, a little bit less. And then we have a year. And I think we have to think about it. And rather than think of misery and of how bad things are, let's think of how we can make it better. And let's think of the hope that we have. Now, my story is different than most stories that you hear about the Holocaust. First of all, because with all the misery, my book is called Daughter of Many Mothers, her horrific childhood, terrible childhood until I was 10, and her wonderful life. In 1908, first of all, the first ghetto that was organized in September 1st, 1939, when Hitler came into Poland, first country, was Pietrków, my hometown. You may recognize the name because some very important people came from there. One of them was Rabbi Meir Shapiro, who started Daf Yomi, and he started Chochmei Lublin, so he left, and his cousin Rabbi Lau came in. And he was the rabbi of our shul until he was taken away at the same time as my mother and brothers, and 2,000 others, and then 2,000 more, 8,000, and sent to Treblinka. But Pietrków was the first town they came in. And as soon as they came in, armies came in. The Germans were very strong. Planes were falling down. Marches were going. The Polish army was not ready at all. And right away, they built a barbed wire fence around the Jewish section, and that was known as the ghetto. Jews living outside of that ghetto were not allowed to live there. They had to move in. And then Jews living in small towns in Stettlach, they couldn't live there. They had to move in. So think of your apartments, whether in Jerusalem or New York or wherever you came from. If you have 4 and 5 and 6 families moving in with you, with babies, with children, with grandparents, maybe with animals, there isn't enough food. People are starving. There isn't enough medicine. People are dying from medicine. There's no heat, so it's very, very cold. Think about the Ukrainians, where the first day when they went out, they were sitting outside. They didn't have anything there. My story is different because 1.5 million Jewish children were killed. 1.5 million Jewish children were no longer there, and I survived. That already makes me very different. How I survived? Purely by miracles. I can tell me every step that happened, and I have proof now, which I didn't for a long time. Not until 1989 did I find my birth certificate. Until then, I didn't even know how old I was. I found my parents' marriage license, and Rabbi Meir Shapiro was their rabbi who married them, which told me that they were Jewish and religious, because he would not have married them had they not been part of his shul. I found my home. I found the factory that I lived in. I found that I was a boy and I was a girl. I found lots of things which I will prove to you. My story is different because most children who did survive did so by being saved by Christians, by being baptized, or in monasteries and nunneries and hiding on false papers. Very few children went through the ghetto, slave labor camp, various concentration camps. I was liberated from Bergen, Belson. And we have a surprise at the end of when I speak, because every time I speak I need to find something new. And today, as I was thinking of what to say, this idea came to me, and I think you're going to be very moved by it. My story is different because if you lose your mother and your father and your brothers and the rest of the family, you have nobody. You're left alone. That was not me. That's where that word selflessness comes in. There were always people, no matter how hard it was, in the ghettos and the camps and the work camps, who helped me. My story is different because it has a happy ending. I came to America. I was adopted by a Jewish, Zionistic, conservative American family who gave me a very good life. I started from scratch. I didn't know how to read or write or tie my shoelaces. When I got older and I went dating, I married this most wonderful man, Rabbi Quint, who was a lawyer and a rabbi. And every morning when he got up and he said his Modani, he thanked God for saving me and thanked me for marrying him. And he wrote me notes every single day, and many of them, not many of them, because I've got books of galore here, every day, and specifically for every Parsha and Haftorah and Yontif. He didn't think that I could ever find the page, and he wrote it for me. And you know what? I never looked for the page because I knew I'd get that note. And all the women in shul knew that he would go, you know, on Rosh, we would sit upstairs, the women, and he would say, when I came in, the art scroll show 257. So everybody knew where we were, if we were. He was a wonderful man. He wrote all those books, And most of the Yiddishkeit I learned from him. And my parents, who were conservative Jews, became Orthodox Jews because they wanted him to eat in their home and to do the things like that. So my father started wearing a kippah all the time and going to shul and doing things. Okay, let me start from the beginning. September 1st, 1939, Hitler comes in. I was living in this house. I found the house 1989 when I went back to Poland for the first time. I was terrified of going back, but my husband encouraged me in ways. I think that this may be a little hard for them. Is that better? And now everybody else? We have to take care of each other.
My hearing is not great.
Well, let's come closer.
I want to also.
Yeah, okay. But I lived in this house. I'm the door of the house. In 1989, when I went back, we were thrown out in 42. You know what I found? A mezuzah. A mezuzah is still on the house. It's been painted over many, many times, but there it is. We were told that the Polish people wouldn't let us in, but if you would bring dollar bills and chocolate bars and coffee, you could bribe everybody. So we did. This woman let us in, and I found that she had a very similar china closet to mine. You can see a lot of gifts there that we got in silver for my husband's classes. I don't know whether things in this closet belong to my mother. I also didn't want to get them back, but she told me about my father. I found that she had a beautiful parquet floor and a beautiful stove and terrible, terrible stairs. Now when I show you this beautiful, why do you care that it's a beautiful floor? Because besides my mother having a ketubah, which is a Jewish object, my mother was way ahead of her time in 1930. I'm talking as if I knew who she was. I wasn't even born. But she had a prenuptial agreement. Wow. Prenuptial agreement where she said she had furniture and she had silver and she had all these different things and money and jewelry, which probably helped because in the ghetto, when you couldn't get food, maybe she was able to sell some of her jewelry or her shoes or her fur coat or whatever. I don't know. But we didn't stop. One night, in the middle of the night, banging down at the door, yelling, "Raus, raus, schnell!" German and Ukrainian soldiers came in, and they said, "You've got 10 minutes to pack up whatever you need and get out of your house." Now, you have to know you're getting out forever. Maybe there's a earthquake outside, maybe there's a flood, maybe there's a fire. What would you take in 10 minutes, the most precious things in your life? Anybody?
Pictures.
Pictures. Who said that? Who said pictures? Well, I would agree with you with pictures, but rather than take the pictures, maybe you want to take the baby. or maybe the Torah, or the pictures of a Bible, or maybe you want to take food, just to get practical. Maybe you want to take warm clothes. Maybe you want to take your affidavits, and those will have your pictures in them. I've got pictures all over, so I agreed with you. But when you're thinking of life supporting, and besides, if you're going into a camp, where are you going to put them? But I'll tell you what happened to my pictures. Everybody took whatever they had. Some people had things waiting. Other people just stuffed them into pillowcases or anything, and we had to run down these stairs. And if somebody fell, other people fell on top of them. We were brought into this big square. This square used to be a great place, Erev Shabbos, because trucks used to, not trucks, wagons used to come, and you could buy vegetables and fish and meat and flowers and whatever you needed for Shabbos. Now it's empty. 2,000 people were brought in, and from here we were chased and beaten until we got to the Bet Knesset. Do you see the Magen David on the bottom of that shul? That was Rabbi Lau's shul, and before him, Rabbi Meir Shapiro. It's a beautiful shul. It was not badly damaged. But there are no Jews left in Pietrograd, not a one. I met the mayor, and he thinks it would be so nice to have Jews come back. I don't think anybody should go back. The shul was made into a library. And here you can see I have two women whom I hired to help me find things because I don't speak Polish. Yiddish was probably the language I spoke. It was the language in the camps. There's a back door there. Make sure that you see it. Do you see the back door, everybody? Inside the shul, if you ask the librarian to pull open the curtains, what do you see? I know you're not answering because nobody in the movie asked you, but I am asking. I like, what? Aseret, thank you, Aseret Hadabrot. And in the Aseret Hadabrot there are holes. What are those holes? Bullet holes. I really do like you to speak. I know I'm speaking very quickly because I figured Rabbi Schultz, he said I didn't have much time. Bullet holes. I am 6 years old at the time. I was 3.5 when the war started. What do you think a child who's so terrified, who's in Beth Knesset, they took the Sefer Torah out and they tore it up. They took out the Chumashim and the Sidurim and they took the Talesim out and people had to go to the bathroom, so they cleaned up the floors with the Talesim. You can imagine the terrible feeling. You were absolutely in hell. You couldn't possibly be there. We were in this room. I am 6 years old. My brothers are older. What do you think your child would be doing? Or what did you do when you were 6 years old, when you were scared? They talked about it in the talk here. What would you do if you were so scared? Cry. I think I'd be crying. Is that what you said?
Say hide.
Oh, hide behind my mother, right. I think so too. I think I would hide behind my mother. And what do you think my mother would do? I think she would hide me behind her, or maybe under her skirt, or maybe holding her. And I think she would do the same thing with my brothers. I don't know how this happened. Back of that door that I showed you, there was a man. My name at that time was Fredja or Fredel. And he beckoned to me, and he said, "Run, run, run." Why would I run away? Why would I run any place rather than hiding, as you said, behind my mother? I don't know what happened. Maybe my mother pushed me. Maybe God pushed me. I ran. Maybe I was stupid. Maybe I was ignorant. Maybe I had chutzpah. Maybe God was watching me. I don't know what happened. All I know is that I ran out. Maybe they didn't see a little kid go like that because there was so many people going around, and the Bet Knesset was big, but 2,000 people couldn't get in. As the ones who couldn't get in, they took out in the forest. They had to dig ditches and they were thrown there. I never saw my mother and my father and all those people again. They were taken to Treblinka. That's me on one of the trips that I went there. There are 17,000 stones to remember 860,000 people who were murdered in Treblinka, including half of my hometown. And this is a picture of one of my hometown, which is Pietrikov, and it has a yahrzeit candle. Nobody's buried under there. The people were put into the gas chambers. I'm not
this way too.
I'm sorry?
I don't think the people on this side saw it. Picture.
Which picture didn't you
The
see?
last one. The one on this side.
Pietrikov. I'm sorry. Do you want to come closer?
Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah. I'll show it to you afterwards. There's the yahrzeit candle to remember. People come and say things. I've been on many trips where we have all kinds of things to remember. But I never saw any of those people. They were all gassed. I'm not going to go to a lot of description because we don't have much time. This man who told me to run, don't even know exactly who he was. He took me to my father, who was working in a slave labor factory. He was taken to a factory. You were lucky if you were working, because then the rumors were flying that the Germans were putting gas chambers and shooting people and throwing children out. If you worked, if you'd be needed, maybe this wouldn't happen. But nobody believed those rumors because Germans are cultured, civilized people. Unfortunately, we found out all those rumors were true. This man took me to my father. My father saw me, he hugged me, and he kissed me, and he was very happy to see me, and so are the other men around there. But this was a man's camp. Girls were useless. Boys up to the age of 10 didn't have much need. Boys up to the age of 10 could work. My father said, from now on, Your name isn't Fredja, it's not Fredel, it's Freud. You're not 6 years old, you're 10 years old. And you're not a girl, you're a boy. Say it so you remember. I'm a boy, my name is Freud, I'm 10 years old. I'm 10 years old, my name is Freud, I'm 10 years old, I'm a boy, and my name is... Say it, so you will always remember who you are. You all remember? I'm a boy, my name is... All the men who were around me. And everybody tried to help me. And when people talk about being selfless, and people talk about helping, I can always say, even though they say in the concentration camps everybody was out for themselves because they wanted to survive, for me it was very different. We worked very hard. There were big German Shepherd dogs. There were people being beaten. If a dog bit you and if you couldn't lift your arm, they would shoot you because the whole purpose was for you to work. As much as we worked, as much as we tried, one day the Allies were getting close. Who were the Allies? The Americans, the British, and the Russians. When they were getting close, Germany wanted to hide everything they had done. So they wanted to send everybody out of the extermination camps and concentration camps. There were 6 extermination camps, I'm not asking. Auschwitz, Majdanek, Sobibor, Chelmno, Belson, and Treblinka. Where were all the camps?
Poland.
In Poland. Why were they there? Most of the Jews, 330 million Jews, out of the 6 million lived in Poland. They wanted to get rid of them. One reason. All the train tracks let in, another reason. And then the Polish people were the kind of people that didn't mind seeing full trains coming in, like this, and empty trains leaving. We were brought into these trains. 80 to 100 people were put into these trains, and we were transported from Poland to Germany. Sometimes, Poland isn't so far, but sometimes if you come from Greece or other places, it could take 2 or 3 days. Nothing to eat there, nothing to drink, and no toilet. And people have to go to the bathroom anyway, so you can imagine the smell, the stench. People fainted, people vomited, people died. There were no steps. They're meant for cattle. Everybody had to push everybody else in or pull them in. When we finally got to Poland, we had to jump into the snow. We used the snow to eat it. We were so hungry. I guess you feel it now, but you don't know what hunger is. I don't know what hunger is. You can't imagine. We haven't eaten since like yesterday, 7:15 or something like that, and you're hungry. What is it if you don't eat like that day after day after day? And the food you get is soup that smells of garbage because it tastes of garbage. Can you imagine what hunger is? It's not easy to explain. Sometimes I think what I try to remember, you don't forget smells. And the smell of the soup is, if you go in the back of a restaurant and you smell the thing, and you don't forget cold, walking in that snow, without shoes, without coats. We were put on these trains. We got off the train. We were in a new place. While we were getting used to it, eating the snow and looking around, there was light from the heaven. Germans came, motorcycles, and with the bullhorns. They made an announcement: "You're being taken to camps. Men on one side, women on the other." My father had a problem. What's the first thing you have to do when you go into a camp? You have to get undressed and go showers. Why did they care about you going into showers? Well, first of all, they didn't want to be around people who had lice and fleas and feces all over. But you have a very nice watch, and you have a watch, and you have a necklace, and I have a ring. If you get undressed, you can't hide anything anywhere. So anything that you have to leave on piles there. Germans were very clever about everything that they had to. My father realized he couldn't take me with him. He met a school teacher. He gave me a picture like you thought the pictures. He had a picture of my mother, my father, my 2 brothers, and me, a family. He said, "Look at the picture. The war is going to be over right away. The Allies are getting closer. Just look at the pictures and remember a happy family, how wonderful our life was. Everything will be fine again." My father promised. There are a lot of fathers here. Fathers are supposed to keep their promises. My father didn't keep his promise. I never saw him again. I did find a train schedule. Germans were very busy keeping records of everything. I had a schedule of my father and his brother, whose name was Lichtenstein, and the two Lau brothers, Yisrael Meir Lau and Naphtali Lavi, who used to be Naphtali Lau, because it was alphabetical. And I found that they came into Buchenwald. They came from Chenskova to Buchenwald. The women, I became a woman again, were sent to Bergen, Belson. I never saw my father again, my uncle, anybody else. When we came into Bergen, Belson, we also had to walk through the snow. Oh, we were in the snow up on top. Down below, there were two men lying in the snow with their pants down. Freezing cold snow. Why in the world would two men lie there with their pants down? As a little girl, I just keep on seeing the thing, but I didn't know. Do you know? If a Jewish woman ran away, maybe she could pretend to be a Christian. If a Jewish man ran away, and if he had a Brit Milah, it was a dead giveaway. We know who you are. You think you're not going to hide? You get nowhere. We came in. We had to get undressed. We had to leave everything there. I was holding my picture. One of the soldiers thought that maybe I had a diamond, maybe I had money, maybe I had something valuable. Picked up my hand, tore it up and threw it away. To him it was garbage. Didn't mean anything. To me, do I look like my mother? I look like my father? Were they tall? Were they short? What color I know nothing about any of my family. We came out there, and every woman, five women, would get a blanket to cover themselves. And by the time we came in 44, and by the way, Auschwitz and Majdanek were liberated in January. They mentioned that in the film, whereas Bergen-Belsen wasn't liberated till April. You know how many months, how many people would have died. And the women would get blankets and some sort of old dress to wear, and maybe clogs, and we'd go into barracks and sleep on the floor with lice, with fleas, with rats, with every kind of dirt you can possibly imagine. Every day, hundreds of people died. The women would take their blanket, put a body into the blanket, and throw the body out. When you read Eicha, and you read about dead bodies all over, this is a picture of it many thousand years later. Here you are, lying around, and later on you'll see something else. One day I was very sick with typhus and diphtheria. Now here I'm telling you, I'm a child who doesn't know how to read, never went to school. How do I know I had typhus and diphtheria? I'll prove it to you. Everything that I'm telling you I have proof of. I was very sick, and somebody helped me to go outside. It was better to be in the cold with other dead bodies and living bodies than dying in those filthy barracks that were there. Something happened that day that never happened. Soldiers came in wearing different uniforms, speaking a different language, and they made an announcement. We are the British Army. We have come to free you. You're free. The war is over. You can go home. You can do whatever you want. Go home. Go home. Where do you want to go? I don't know where home is. I don't understand his language, the British people. I found it hard to understand some of the rabbis too, by the way. I didn't understand a word that they were saying, and the British had a very hard time. First thing they tried to do was feed people. 14,000 people died because they ate too quickly or the wrong food. You have to be very careful now. Then they buried. In every religion, you're supposed to have a little bit of decency, a little selfishness to bury people. It's supposed to be a very big mitzvah. Well, here, 10,000 people. You couldn't do it with bulldozers. They got Jews and they got even Germans around. Then they burnt down all the barracks that the Jews lived in. They were so filled with lice, with fleas, with rats, with any kind of thing that you can imagine. They put typhus around, signs around, because it's a very, very high contagious disease. my luck is beginning to change. I don't know if I prayed to God. I'm not sure that I knew of a God. As a matter of fact, I'm quite sure I didn't probably know anything about being Jewish or praying or God or knowing why anything is happening or questioning God. Sweden had opened its doors to 6,000 survivors, and I was one of them. And they put me on a stretcher, and I have the exact record here that I was transferred in a transfer to Sweden from German concentration camp to Sweden. I went to a camp called Yard, displaced persons camp. I met another new woman. She took care of me. What does it mean, take care of me? She had no food or anything, but the fact that you had someone to talk to you, to listen to you, to hold on to you, is what the rabbis were saying, that you need somebody near you. And I was very sick, and then this woman disappeared. All my mothers kept on disappearing. I was sent to a hospital. Here is my record, 1945. I had diphtheria and typhus. Can you imagine? A Polish couple, a beautiful Polish couple, came to visit me while I was in the hospital. They brought me candy, they brought me a doll, they brought me clothes, and they asked me if I wanted to be their daughter. I wanted very much to go with this couple, but the people around me said that I was Jewish. I didn't know what it meant to be Jewish. I don't remember my mother lighting candles or having Pesach or my father making Kiddush or Havdalah. I don't remember any of this at all. But they said that I was Jewish, and all the Jewish children would go and be taken to Palestine. In Palestine, I would meet my mother and my father and my brothers. I didn't know they were all dead. Now, please answer me. Why did I say Palestine? Where is that?
Pre-1948.
1948. This was 1945. There was no Israel. We didn't have it, thank God. In 1945, we had no country, we had no army, we had no one to talk for us. None of the people in the world would open their doors for us. We had no friends all over. Thank God, we have a state. I don't know what to say about thank God we have a government. Yes, I thank God, but I wish that God could make us give the little bit of unity that we need, a little bit of understanding, because we're killing ourselves. We don't need enemies to kill us if we are destroying ourselves. And right now, I must tell you, I am worried of what's happening to us, because there's such a terrible kind of thing. Anyway, I didn't go with these people, coming back to my life. I went to go to Palestine. Thank God it's now Israel. I was this camp. This is me on the bottom. I'm with other children waiting to go to Palestine. In the house that we lived in, the children who were going to go to Palestine, on the other side, there were lucky people who had brothers, sisters, somebody who would sponsor you from the United States. Somebody had to sponsor you. Just the migrants now, you couldn't come in unless somebody said that sponsored you. I met a woman, Anna, when I went to this group. Her name was Anna. She had two children, Sigmund and Fanny. Fanny was 9.5 years old. Her brother, David, had gone to the United States before. He sent her 3 passports, tickets, affidavits, all the money, everything she needed. And the Druckingham was the ship, and they were going to go to America. I was waiting to go to Palestine. God had a different role for me. This little girl, Fanny, died. Her mother had the passport. She had all the other papers that she needed, and I had the muzzle. And she asked me, would I like to be her daughter and go with her to America? Everybody said I should go there. I was so lucky, and from America I could always go to Palestine. But going to America was a blessing and a gift. My name now is Fanny. Remember, I was used to changing my name all the time? Remember I told you I was born in Piotrków, Poland? No. I was born in Germany. I was born in February. Everything about that child, my picture was put into a passport, and I became that child. And we came on a ship, and I got a new outfit to wear. The psychiatrist the other day asked me what I remember about the ship, and I said I had a green outfit to wear and there was food. And she said, don't you remember all the bad things you talked about? No. I'm lucky enough to have the capacity to look at my green outfit that I have now, that I have something warm to wear, and she was quite surprised that I didn't talk about all the bad things that you take along with you on there. And we came to America, we saw the Statue of Liberty. I thought I'd live in the big skyscrapers because everybody lived in big houses, they said, in America. They took us to Lyndhurst, Long Island, and they had a family. We had chicken soup and chicken and everything Friday night. Life was wonderful. And in the summertime, we had come in April. In the summertime, we went up to the Catskill Mountains. People know where Catskill Mountains are? Anyway, a lot of people to the board. You went there. And I went to a day camp. And I learned English. All the children say man, say woman, say chair, say film, say every day I learned new words. I learned to go swimming. I learned to ride a bicycle. I had all the food I want. Everything was just wonderful. One day, Anna, my new mother, disappeared. And it wasn't so bad because all the women were like mothers and everybody was always helping me, and I had food and I had drink and I went swimming and all that. But one day, the family came back looking very sad. They said, come with us. And they took us to Farmingdale, a cemetery. My new mother, Anna, had died. Apparently she had been bitten by a rat or some sort of poison. And I never saw her. I never saw a cemetery. I didn't know people were buried there. In Bergen, Belson, they just threw them out and you went back to see, did they leave a piece of bread or something. There was one hole and everybody was crying, except me. I wasn't crying. Maybe I didn't know you're supposed to cry when somebody dies. Bergen, Belson, they didn't cry. Maybe I didn't know how to cry. Maybe they thought that I didn't love Anna. I did love Anna. I just didn't know that you're supposed to cry when somebody dies. They took me back to home, and we sat Shiva, 7 days of mourning, and they had a problem. They brought over a woman who was going to take care of her children, but now that she wasn't here, they really didn't want me. What do you do? One of the people there, Rabbi Goldberg, knew these two people, Leah and Jacob Globe, who lived in Brooklyn, who had no children, and had tried, like the man was talking about his wife they went also traveling all over. They didn't. They were 46 years old. I was almost 10, 9 and a half, 10. And they asked them, maybe you'd like to meet this little girl, see what it would be there. I went there for Shabbos. There was Friday night, there were candlesticks, there was chicken soup and all the things that go with it. There was kiddush. All this was very new to me. And the next day we went to shul, and in the afternoon we played some games, and guess what they asked me? Would you like to stay and be our daughter? And you know by now my answer was always. They changed my name. My name had started of being Fredja, Fredel. I was a boy, was Froim. I was Fanny, they changed it to Francis. Fredel means joy. Joy in Hebrew means Rena. He says, from now on, we're going to call you Rena, and you're going to be our Rena for the rest of your life. And without going to many things, they gave me a wonderful life. And as I said, we had a Jewish conservative life. My husband came along, and we have, thank God, my husband gave me 4 children, believe in her, 22 grandchildren, and as of now we have, I know her, 46 great-grandchildren, all of them living in Israel, number one, all of them Shomer Shabbos, and you know, thank God this. In 1981, there was a gathering of Holocaust survivors. We were living in Brooklyn, and my family said, why, we never look for anything. We never talk about the Holocaust. Why don't we go, and maybe somebody else survived. So we came, and Binyanei Ha'uma, you put up papers, and they had the first kind of computers, and you put your name in and you try. Nobody ever heard of me. I didn't hear of them. It's like we never lived. I wrote to a place, if anybody needs to find information, an amazing place called Arlson, which is an international tracing bureau, and they wrote back to me. My name, where is it? Yeah, my name was Fredja Lichtenstein. I was born in Pietrikov, forget that I was born in Germany, but that's what my passport says even now. My parents' name were Isaac and Sarah. The various camps, everything that I told you. I was in Sweden, child adopted in America, case closed. So now everything that I told you, I have proof of. Because for a while I really doubted, what I had said. And when I went to Poland, I found my birth certificate. This is a picture of me. When we came back, my children, they needed some children to be the Dor Hemshech in Yad Vashem, and I see the rabbi saying I have to get going. So I just want to tell you real fast.
Let me just add. So Rena told us that she has something special to end with, and I don't want to miss out on that. So
okay, do that.
You have to lead up. You have to lead into it.
Okay. So there was a Reverend Hardman, who was the chaplain, the chaplain from Britain, who came to Bergen, Belson in April '45. He was a Jew. Please show the movie. I don't think it needs explanation. If it does, I'll show it to you when you're eating. Oh. I just found this afternoon.
Okay, this is the original footage.
Yes.
The survivor.
But I found her on YouTube.
Of Bergen Belson singing Hatikva. Don't tell them. Sorry.
He's going to tell them. I spoke so quickly, so we'd have. I just wanted you to know while he's doing this, the President Biden gave me a kiss.
Rena, can you show the picture again?
President Biden gave me a kiss.
The day before the Jewish Sabbath. Something like half the surviving prisoners at Belson were Jews, and the Jewish chaplain for the British Second Army, the Reverend L.H. Hartman, held an Eve of the Sabbath service in the open air in the midst of the camp. It was the first Jewish service that many of the men and women present had taken part in for 6 years. Probably the first Jewish service held on German soil, in absolute security and without fear, for a decade. Around us lay the corpses, if there had not been time to clear away, even after 5 days. 40,000 or more had been cleared, but there was still one after 1,000 around. People were still lying down and dying in broad daylight in front of our eyes. This was the background to this open-air Jewish service. During the service, a few hundred people gathered together, were sobbing openly, with joy at their liberation, and with sorrow the memory of their parents and brothers and sisters that had been taken from them and gassed and burned. These people knew they were being recorded. They wanted the world to hear their voice. They made a tremendous effort, which finally broke. Listen.
Different words. The children of Israel still live.
Isn't that amazing? Now I looked this up because when you wanted to sing it, and you would certainly write, the words are different from the version. It says, the original, L'shuv le'eretz avotenu, ir bad David Chana. The people in Israel didn't want to make it so biblical, religious, so they changed it to Eretz Sion v'Yerushalayim. The long-time hope to return to the land of our forefathers, the city where David dwelt. I have this out. We took Esty, help me find it. What is that? Oh, yes. Oh, we read Eicha, and I was going to talk about it in comparison, and she's going to go ahead.
Yeah. We'll use Eicha, the last sentence to finish.
Speak loudly, yeah. The last sentence of Eicha that all of us read last night, and all of us repeated.
Yeah. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva hadesh yameinu kikedem. Bring us back to you, Hashem, and we shall return, renew our days as of old.
Amen.
I want to thank Rena, Curtis, and Quint again for sharing. Very moving, and thank you. I'd like to ask the men just come over to the corner here, David.